Okay, I'm going to
Well,
change my view. Hang on.
so welcome back everyone to the Dreamcatcher webinar series. As you know, my name is Dinora Gonzalez and I am the project manager for Dreamcatcher. The Freeport McMoran Foundation created this program in partnership with Thunderbird for Good. Dreamcatcher is a free business training for Native American women. We host selected participants for an intensive week of training in Thunderbird in downtown Phoenix. Right now, obviously, we are not able to host these events, and that we're trying to pivot online doing these trainings. And I thank you for being here. And I have the pleasure, and also I'm very thankful that our host, Maria Hall, she's a program director for the Thunderbird for Good. Thunderbird Share, I'm sorry. And she does like mentorship for Thunderbird School of Global Management, providing a scholarship and mentorship for exceptional students from developing countries. Maria joined Share in 2009, and she has over 20 years of global experience in the corporate, nonprofit, and academic sectors. She is a T-bird. She graduated in 1987. She has degrees in political science and Italian. She also has an ESL certification and a certificate in social branding. And she has been coaching dozens of students in the professional and communication techniques, networking, social branding, and job search support. Thank you so much for being here. And Maria, please, welcome.
Thank you, Dinora. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be able to present to you guys. As Dinora mentioned, I have a certificate in social branding, which is a way to brand yourself across social media, but focusing on LinkedIn. So I want to talk to you a little bit about LinkedIn. I think you may or may not think it's very relevant to you, and I want to go through and show you what's great about LinkedIn and how you can set it up easily without doing too much guesswork. So hold on. There we go. Okay, I just have to see how to work my controls here because I haven't done that by Zoom before. So first of all, we only have a couple of people online. I don't know if there's anybody who does not have a LinkedIn profile yet, and that will help me kind of direct my remarks.
I just created mine this week.
Awesome.
Never had one before.
Okay, good. This is perfect timing for you. Good. Okay, good. So that at least I can see that we need to go through some of the basics, and that's great. That's where I start. So if you need convincing though about LinkedIn, there are almost 700 million users worldwide, 2 new members per second, and 30 million company pages. So LinkedIn is not as big as Facebook, but it does have a big presence. So a lot of people think about LinkedIn and what it's good for. Most people associate LinkedIn with job search. So either you're looking for a job, or you're a business owner looking to hire someone, or maybe you want to network so that you can look for a job later, or maybe marketing a service. And I think that's basically what LinkedIn, most people consider LinkedIn. But you know, for some of you guys who are business owners, you might say, what's it got to do with me? Do I really need LinkedIn if I've got my own business? Or maybe you're operating locally and you don't feel that LinkedIn is really a social media platform that's useful for you. So I am going to explain to you why it might be useful to you. Basically, I Google people all the time. I don't know if you do this too, but I'll meet somebody and they seem interesting and I'll just pop their name in Google and see if I can read something about them. I know my mom, when she's watching the news, she's 90, but she likes to Google people. While she's watching the news, she puts their name in to see what she can find out about them. So my question for you is, who would Google you and why would they Google you? So there's tons of reasons that people might be checking you out. Maybe you've applied for a program like the Dreamcatchers, and maybe somebody like Dinora has Googled you to see if she can find out anything more about you other than what's on your application. Or you attend a conference and people see your name and company name, they're intrigued. or someone saw your website, or you gave them a business card, or somebody was talking about you to a friend saying, oh yeah, she provided me with a great service, and they might Google you to get some more information. That's blank. So what they're doing is they are using a Google search to validate, verify, and build trust with you and your business. So that's all they're trying to do, is get more information. So what I'd like to spend some time today doing is showing you why LinkedIn is a good hub for your personal brand. It's a good landing page for you. And I will show also how it interacts a little bit with Google. So here's somebody who's using LinkedIn, and they're a fabric and surface designer, and you can see right away what kind of person, how she wants to portray herself. A little bit artistic, there's nice colors and so on. So why is LinkedIn a great hub for your personal brand? Hang on a second. First of all, what's amazing about LinkedIn, I'll show you some of the stuff you can do with it. It's free, and I think that's just crazy. I have been on LinkedIn for at least 15 years. I've never paid anything. So it's free, it's easy to set up. We'll go through it point by point, and you get to tell your story your way. And the other thing about LinkedIn, unlike Facebook or Insta or some of the other platforms, it's purely professional, and LinkedIn's done a pretty good job at keeping it that way. So there aren't any haters. There's nobody linking your name to pictures of wild scenes that you don't want associated with your professional brand. I don't know if you've ever heard this expression. You only have 7 seconds to make a good first impression. Usually that meant have a good handshake, and when you meet people, look them in the eye and speak clearly. But nowadays, especially right now, this is usually happening online. So LinkedIn is a great introduction to you and what you offer and what you're like, but it's online. So it's actually really timely for these times right now. So we were talking a minute ago, or I was talking a minute ago, sorry this isn't more interactive, but we were talking about Google and somebody Googling your name. What's interesting about LinkedIn is that if somebody Googles your name, like in this case, I Googled Lillian, who's a student I used to work with. Lillian, when I Google her name, LinkedIn shows up as the second item in the list. So typically, if you have a complete LinkedIn profile, it should show up in one of the top 5 slots when somebody Googles your name. So it's like a free publicity. If you have a complete profile, it'll show up very high in a Google search. And you can see there's even 4 pictures of Lillian down at the bottom. Those are all her. So Google gives search priority. In other words, why does it put LinkedIn so high up? Google gives search priority to quality content. Google likes to see not just your name when it's doing its search, but also whether, like, what kind of platforms you're found on, what kind of links are associated with your name, and so on. LinkedIn provides all of that. So Google really likes it when it's doing a search for your name. On the other hand, LinkedIn also has a way of searching within the platform, and LinkedIn gives search priority to 100% complete profiles. So what I'd like to do today is go through and show you how to make a complete profile, and to show you that you can do it any way you like, but I'll show you some best practices, and it takes out the guessing. And then this way, when somebody Googles your name, your LinkedIn will look really great, and it will show up near the top of any Google search. You can see here, even I typed in Robert Jaffe, who's a local real estate guy, to my house, and it comes up at the top of the list of people called Robert Jaffe because he's got a photograph. So his profile is probably quite complete. So here's somebody who didn't complete their profile. They were just going to use it to lurk, I think. But it's a wasted opportunity. So our goal today is to develop a LinkedIn profile, and I'll go through section by section, and it should be functional. That means it works for you. It's easy to search. Google finds it. It's factual, meaning it's true. But not only that, true factually, but true that in the sense that it represents you well. And then fabulous, is it memorable and is it visually pleasing so people like looking at it? So we'll call those the 3 F's: functional, factual, and fabulous. Just one word, if you're doing your, I'll send out this, this presentation so you can go back and check it. But you might want to put your privacy settings so that as you're making edits to your LinkedIn, your contacts don't get a notification that you've changed something. And then afterwards, you can change that back, because then when you make changes, you do want your contacts to know. All right, let's get to this section by section. I think probably the most important thing in LinkedIn is the headshot. That's your photo. Photos, profiles with photos get a lot more views than the ones without photos. If people don't see a photo, they often don't click on it and want to look at it. And then by the same token, profiles with professional photos get 14 times more views than selfies. So if you don't have a good professional headshot, just get a friend who has a pretty good camera or a pretty good phone and make a photograph, do a bunch and get the lighting right and get the closest thing you can get to a professional headshot. So it's very simple what LinkedIn has studied as the best headshots. Your face should be forward. Believe it or not, there are studies on this. If you smile and show teeth, people find you more trustworthy. So they also recommend that your face fill 80% of the frame. So here's an example. You can see David Young. That's about how big you want your face to be in the frame, ideally. Should be professional quality, white or neutral background. If you like to have like a little nature in the background, that's great, just so long as it's not distracting. And then dress for the job that you want. Now, throughout the presentation, I'll be pointing out some personal branding tips. This one is, if you use a similar headshot on your other social media accounts, people will know it's you. You won't seem mysterious. We're trying to build some trust here. So what you want is, even on your Facebook, even if it's a different headshot, maybe one from the same photo shoot, or make sure that your hairstyling is similar. What you don't want is for people to Google you and say, is that the same person I met? So it's a little bit about personal branding and being consistent. So now I'm going to move on to the next thing. First, we did the headshots. Now we're going to look at the background banner. That's that strip across the top of your LinkedIn profile. So this person is an art director, and you can see that probably she's put something up that she designed herself. So it's a great banner. It shows a little bit about her talent and style. So if you don't customize that banner, LinkedIn puts this kind of turquoise constellation on the banner. That's the default. If you have not put your own banner, that's what they give you. It's a pity because putting a customized banner really makes the thing more attractive. You can see these two women look about the same age. They even have a similar hairstyle, but one's got a lot more action going on. It's a lot more fun to look at. So what are some good things you could put on that banner for yourself? There's a few things that are really appropriate. It's the one part on LinkedIn where you can show a little bit of personality. So Maria Teresa here, she lives in Honduras, and she has a program that engages with actually, I think, women entrepreneurs in her city. So she's put a picture of her city there, and it's about her personal story. This is a student at ASU who was part of an all-Chinese basketball team, and obviously they won something, but it shows his engagement with the community. He's very active in the local Chinese community. And I think that's a lot of fun. Like it says a lot about him. Here's a guy that has used a professional theme. David Wallace, I found him on LinkedIn, restaurant owner at Mexican restaurant. Now, personally, I think he should put the name of the restaurant for a little bit more information. However, he's in Cumming, Georgia. Maybe it's the only Mexican restaurant in Cumming, Georgia. I don't know. Maybe that's the name. Maybe the name is Mexican restaurant. But at any rate, I can look at that big photo of fajitas or whatever that is and say, okay, I get what this guy's about professionally. Donald is a pharmacist, and here he's got a kind of a diagram of a molecule or something that's scientific. Again, a great professional theme for him. This is a company tie-in, and for those of you that have a company, this is an interesting way to go. You see, Joss has a headshot, which is pretty serious. He's in a tie. It's very formal. But look at his banner. He runs a transportation company, and there he is by a bus wearing a uniform for the company, and he's got a little bit of personality showing. So this ties him to something that's a really important part of his professional identity. So again, best practices here on the background banner. You want to use the banner to reflect your interests, either professional or personal, validate your passions, and also to make it attractive. Here's just another example of a catering manager, and she's got something set up like maybe for an outdoor party that she's managing. And the branding tip for this section is, if you use your company's brand colors or image, you can share that on all your social media. If you do something that's kind of consistent between maybe your website, LinkedIn, maybe your marketing materials, all that consistency really builds your brand. So that's all I've got to say about the banner. I want to just talk a minute, not too long, but your name. Your name is your name, that's for sure, but it's a part of your brand because that's how people call you, that's how they recognize you. If somebody Googles you, they want to know it's really you. And some of us have a little problem with that because we've gone by different names during our lifetimes. And so I think this happens more to women than men, but I want to just point out what you can do on LinkedIn if you go by more than one name. So this person, Gia Vu, Gia's kind of hard for people in America to pronounce. So when he's here, he goes by Vince. So he's put both names on his LinkedIn profile so that you can Google him either way and still find him. And also, if you hear about Vince Vu, you know it's the same guy now. It ties it together. And the same goes for Petra. She's a colleague of mine. She's pretty recently divorced, so she's gone back to her maiden name. But a lot of people still know her by her previous name. So she's put both in there so that she's findable. And they don't have to wonder if it's the same woman or not that they knew from before. Okay, this is me. I'm also divorced. I've been divorced a long time though, so I don't put that up in my name. But I did put my previous name lower down in the LinkedIn profile. We'll look at this section later, but I want it somewhere on there so that if somebody searches me by my old name, at least I'll show up in a search. And they also know it's me if they're not sure if it's the same person they knew years ago. And here you go. If you have a nickname that a lot of people call you by, it's a great idea to stick it on there. So again, people heard of Bahar before, but if her LinkedIn profile only said Fatima, they might not be sure it's the same person. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about the names, and we'll have some time for question and answer. If anybody has any particular name issues, sometimes that comes up. So now I'm going to go on to the headline on your LinkedIn profile. The headline is 125 characters. That's just below the name. You can see you've got the banner, the headshot, the name, and then this what they call the headline. And it's super important. The reason it's so important is partly because of that placement that's so obvious to see, but also because it shows up in different areas of LinkedIn. For example, if I'm looking for somebody who's an event manager and I'm looking at their profile, off here to the side, I'm going to see people also viewed, and it may show me some other event managers. What if you're an event manager? You may show up on a LinkedIn search there on the side. And with a good headline, I'll know that I might like to click on you. It's a little bit of free marketing there. It's another reason that side box is another reason we like to keep your face really big in that circle, because over there on the side, they're pretty tiny. So your headline is customizable. You can choose what you want to put there, but if you don't choose anything, LinkedIn fills it in for you. And lower on in your LinkedIn profile is a list of your jobs that you can put in. They will take your most recent job and fill that in for you. So over there on the left, you see Sarah, APJ Management. You know, it's a pity because I don't know anything about APJ Management, and I don't know if she owns it, if she works there. I don't know what kind of company it is. So it doesn't tell me very much about her. It's a bit of a wasted opportunity. David on the right, he is a finance guy, and he has customized that headline to tell you what his specialties are. So if I need somebody in any of those specialties, he'll pop up in a search, and I'll know that he's the person, the kind of person I'm looking for. That's what he's got there is highly professional. You don't see much about his personal stuff, but you can definitely see what he does professionally. Here's another person who did a keyword headline like that. Just put a list of words. And Laura didn't have very much job experience. When she did this profile, I think she was only 23 maybe. So she put some of the things she was interested in. And she also put a skill, which is that she's bilingual in Spanish and English. So even though professionally I'm not sure exactly what she wants to do, I get kind of what sort of person she is. It shows a little personality. And her headshot's quite nice. I think she lived in Hong Kong for a little while. There's a picture of Hong Kong. I think that's Hong Kong in the background. So you start to develop a little picture about her. Harrison, another example. He's an IT guy, lots of experience. I don't need someone like that, but if I did, I could easily tell whether he's someone I'd like to talk to. And I think his profile, whole thing looks really nice. That nice banner with some kind of connectivity, something, I don't know what it is. And his headshot's quite nice. He's got some nature in the background, but it's not distracting. Okay, I want you to take a look at this guy. He is an entrepreneur, and some of you with your own businesses might like to do something like this. Whereas Harrison divided up all his specialties with a kind of vertical line on his headline, Matt has made sort of a list. He starts out with entrepreneur, founder, strategist. He goes through all the things he can do. And a lot of you, I have a feeling in the dream catchers, you have multiple things that you're good at. And this is a great way to showcase those so people kind of get a feeling for what you're doing. So you might have your own business and you might be starting it while you're working at something else, you know, until you get it off the ground. Or maybe you've got a couple of things going on at the same time. Even the banner is pretty good. There's Matt with sort of his Silicon Valley casual outfit looking at a phone. That's pretty much what he looks like all the time.
Can I ask a quick question on that?
Sure.
This is Bridget Valenzuela. And is there a preference as opposed to the commas versus the first style?
You know, I think you could, that's a great question. I think you could play with it. I tend to advise people to do this little vertical line. I happen to think it looks nice, but you can do what feels good to you. So I think that, you know, in the personal branding training that I had, they didn't even suggest this as a way of constructing the headline. It's something I read about later. And I noticed for a lot of people who wear different hats, it works really well. So I would play with it and see what you're comfortable with.
Thank you.
And so the other question you might have at that point is, how do you identify what those keywords should be? You know, are you kind of stuck on what things might be worth putting up on that headline? So I would just say that this is a really simple way to generate some of your keywords. Make a bunch of lists of words, your professional dreams, your skills, what you do for people, what you're known for, what you think your customers are looking for. And no one has to see this but you. It's pencil and paper. Write them down. Big list of all the things you can think about that describe you. Roles that you've had, all kinds of words that could be used to describe you, your skills, and what you want to do. And then just start putting them together in combinations, either with that little vertical line or with the commas. mix them up. Some maybe should come first, some sound better after. If you make 10 combinations, my experience says that 3 of them will be pretty good. And you can put it up there, and if later on you're looking at your LinkedIn profile and you don't like it, switch it out. You know, you can keep editing forever. But this is, I would say, kind of like what we call free association. Just make up a crazy long list of stuff and start putting them together in combinations till one jumps out at you as kind of describing you and your multiple interests and passions.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yeah.
This is Bridget again. The way I generated those keywords, I did something kind of, because I was extremely stumped when I was trying to do that because I've got a pretty diverse background. And I took my resume and put it into text form and then put it into a word cloud.
Oh,
and
so
then
smart.
filtered out for like the top 15. I whittled it down from 50 to 25, and then those 20 I figured out, I tried to put them into buckets. So it was just something that I wanted to be a little bit more accurate with, as opposed to having a preference for something to, you know, I want to lean more towards science education or more towards a business. So I don't know if you've ever come across that, but I did that. Word, there's lots of different apps, but Word has a plugin that you can just throw it all in and it analyzes it for you. So
I just love it. I just love it. Now, what happens when you do that is, if you're doing it off your resume, is that you're going to find that the words that repeat or that are more substantial in the word
Right.
cloud are the things you've already done. And that may be perfect for you. However, if you're kind of pivoting right now and your future business is not the same as what you've been doing in the past, you will also have to add some words that are things you aspire to do. And as long as you're not misrepresenting yourself as already being an expert in things you haven't done yet, but things that you're interested in are also fair to put on that headline.
I see. Okay.
So the way I would identify those words, if you want a little bit deeper dive, is that I might look at other people's LinkedIn profiles or job postings or something that shows other people who are doing those things and picking out the words that they're using and see what kind of things, see which ones apply to you as well.
Thank you.
Thanks. That was a great question. I appreciate it. Okay, so here's a guy who is the founder of his own business. I would say, you know, this is somebody who on LinkedIn only wants to be known for this business. So he's not trying to tell you much about his personality. That's fine. He wants to use it this way. So if you were the owner or a founder of an established business, you might like to do something like this. Your business already has a logo, you know, that's what you need to be known for, and it's pure marketing for you and your business. It's not a bad way to go. I don't think that's, you know, everybody in this group, but could apply. Before we were talking about profile aspects, which are functional, factual, and fabulous. This guy has told what he does. He just says what he offers. Healthcare marketing for startups. It's very factual. It's very functional too. If someone's looking for that in a search, they're going to come up with him. There's nothing fabulous about it. It's just the facts, but it probably works for him. That's what he wants you to be able to find him if you need his specialty. And then here's one that's kind of the opposite. I would say it's fabulous, but it's not especially functional. And in the personal branding world, they seem to love this kind of headline. Access equals opportunity. I just love it. I think it's super cool. I don't know what she does though. So she may be so well known in Albuquerque that everybody knows what she's about. Maybe she is in education, or maybe she provides grants to, you know, community fundraisers. I don't know what she does. Access equals opportunity. I love her picture. So I would say that probably, unless she's super well known in her community, that's not very functional in terms of being searched, but it's very clever. So best practices for headlines. So you can see that I'm somebody that kind of likes the idea of the keywords, skills, and qualities, or mention your established brand or business. And what you offer is more important than your title, like going back to the guy in healthcare marketing. He doesn't tell you he's a founder or a president. He just tells you he does healthcare marketing. And use all the characters if possible. Why not? Why not be more searchable? And for the personal branding tip here, if you use a version of this same headline on your other social media, or maybe even in your marketing materials, keep that consistent. Doesn't have to be written exactly the same, but if you're known for something, that should be pretty consistent throughout all the places where you appear. So you can maybe digest that. If you have more questions about that, we can get to them later, because I'm going to move on to the contact information section. So the contact information, I like this. I use LinkedIn a little bit like a phone book. Sometimes if there's someone I'm looking for and I don't know how to reach them, their email or whatever, if I'm connected to them through LinkedIn, sometimes I'll go in there and see if I can find an email address or phone number. So this little contact information, it's a tab. You can't see it. It's kind of to the right of where your name is. I mean, you can't see it in this particular slide. It's right, the link for it is right behind where this white box would be. So the contact information, most people don't fill it in. You may as well fill it in. It gives you room for 3 websites. You could put in your school, you could put in your website for your business if you have. You could put in a website that links to an article about your business. You can put your phone number. I put my phone number on there. I have set the privacy settings so that only people I've connected with can see that. I don't like my phone number on the open internet too much, but I don't mind for people that I've linked with on LinkedIn. There's room for more than one email. So if there's different ways to reach you. So this is, maybe not everybody uses it as much as I do, but there's no reason not to fill that in, and it contributes to your profile being complete. So you'll be prioritized in searches. So I recommend you complete that. Also in the contact section, you'll see, actually, I can go back and show you on mine, right under your profile, LinkedIn, it shows what my URL is for LinkedIn. That's the link that takes you directly to my LinkedIn profile. Everybody has them. LinkedIn assigns it to you, and Gregory has the one that LinkedIn assigned to him. It's got kind of a version of his name and some gibberish numbers and letters. You can customize that so that it's nice and clean and neat. And on the right, Sukena has done just that. She's customized her URL. This is such a small detail, I know, but it's nice and clean and professional. If you like your LinkedIn profile, you can provide that link to people. You can put it in part of your signature on your email. There's different things you can do with it. Nice, clean, makes it look like you know what you're doing. So that's all I had to say about the contact information section. I think it's straightforward. So I want to jump down to the next section in LinkedIn, which is your experience section. I thought this guy was funny. I think he probably wasn't. He might have been a student. CEO at nothing. So a lot of people use their experience section like a resume, job name, dates, and a list of bullet points of the things you did at the job. I think mine looks like that. I'm sorry to say. I should probably fix it. But LinkedIn is not a resume, and you can describe your experience in your own way. And I'll give you a couple of examples how you can do that. Remember, what people are doing when they look at your LinkedIn profile is often they're there to validate, verify, what they've heard about you and to build trust. So the experience section is kind of an important section in that regard. If I heard that you had, say, a construction company, and I thought maybe I should use your company for a job I have, I might go in and just see a little bit more on your LinkedIn profile. I Google you, I see you have a LinkedIn profile, go in there, and I would like to be sure that you've got that construction company as part of your experience. And it might help me to understand what size of projects you do and what kind of things you do. So what would be great is under each job that you list or each experience, let's say in your experience section, you first of all focus on relevant experience, maybe not old jobs you had. You know, I was an ear piercer in college. I worked in a mall and I pierced ears all day. I don't put that on my experience section anymore because I'm not sure that's the brand. I probably shouldn't tell you that now. That's not the brand image that I'm looking for. So you want your relevant, most recent experiences. If you have a business, be sure it's on there. And then describe the highlights and talk about the results you got. So instead of saying, you know, we improved 15% of sales, you could just write a little sentence saying we worked very hard in a period where the economy was low and we were high achievers, and, you know, maybe a little bit more narrative, a little bit more chatty, a little bit more fun to read. See if I have some examples here. Here's a good one. So this person, whose name is William, is the co-founder of a company called Career Blast. And he just gives a little blurb about what he does there. Okay, if you read what he wrote there, it's a little braggy. You know, it's a little bit markety. It's kind of what he does too. It's a style. You don't need to brag or be overly markety if it's not your personal style. But what it does tell me is basically what he does in a conversational way. And that's really easy to read. He's on a mission to help high achieving professionals increase their success. Great, that's nice. What I would love you to notice here, though, is something that's really cool about LinkedIn. You can attach media. So William is telling me that he does this job, this coaching or whatever he does. And that's great, but, you know, he's just telling me he does it and I'm trusting him, I guess. But he's attached some media which help validate that. So he's got a picture of him and his partner there, brainstorming, presumably over a sought after executive, I don't know. And then he's got also a video, I believe, where the two of them are discussing their work and how they like to work together. So you can, on LinkedIn, on any of the sections, you can connect, you can link video, you can link websites for the things you're talking about, you can link photographs. If you're an artist or a jeweler or something along those lines, you can attach your portfolio there, a photographer. I've seen people do that. It's fantastic. Either a link to it or just attach some photos of samples directly onto the LinkedIn. And that way, your LinkedIn profile, it starts to be really interesting to browse because I can see that you've done a job and now I can see some pictures of the job you did. I can see some articles about it. Maybe you were in the local press or the national press for what you've done. So that's a really great way to build trust with whoever's reading your LinkedIn profile. There's almost always something you can attach that makes it interesting.
Maria,
Yeah.
one thing. So let's say that somebody's trying to promote their business, but a lot of the people they are trying to build trust. Is there any way that they can have recommendations or endorsements? I think it's important that if I'm finding someone on LinkedIn for a business, I want to see what their clients or the customers are talking about their business.
Absolutely. So you can, if there are any sites that have recommendations, if you're on Yelp or whatever, or Craigslist, or not Craigslist, what do you call it, Amy's List, you could put a link to that here on the job. But LinkedIn does have its own recommendation section, and I'll get to that in a minute.
Thank you.
So you also, if you have projects, so say you've sort of changed career directions, like you used to work as an employee somewhere, but now you have your own business. So you may not have tons of experience doing that business, but you dipped in and out. And so projects are a great thing to put on there. I don't care if you were paid. If you've got experience, you can put some projects down, and you can also include relevant volunteer work. So back to the example of somebody with a construction business, maybe the business is new, but maybe you've also volunteered at Habitat for Humanity for 10 years. That's very interesting to know. So Both volunteer work and unpaid projects are fine to put in the experience section. And then I love this example. This was a kid, he's a student, and he was a busboy at a country club restaurant. And he said part of his job was arranging plates and utensils for patrons. And it just made me laugh because I think we all know what a busboy does. That is not exactly news to me that that's what he did. So he's just saying he did the minimum that's required by the job. But this guy, I wish I knew him, because I would say to him, look, probably you were doing that while you were a student. That makes you look like a really hard worker, and that might be interesting to somebody. He could say something along the lines of, you know, I put myself through school while I was working as a busboy. Now there's somebody that has a quality I'm interested in. Or he might say, here's where I learned all about customer service and why I own a restaurant today. Like that type of thing is a little bit more interesting than just a list of tasks. So that's all I've got to say about the experience section. Just to reiterate, you can do it any way you like. You don't have to follow a strict format like a resume, but I would focus on what results you got, what you loved about the job, what was the best thing about it, why did you do it, what did you learn, what did you get out of it, what did customers say about it. I would make it a little bit more of a narrative, and that will make it fantastic. And I've got to do that myself on my own profile because I haven't. So here's the next section I'd like to talk about. It's the about section. It's like a little biography, and it's found right under that box that we looked at with the photo and name and headline. A lot of people don't like to use that biography. They feel like talking about themselves is uncomfortable, but to have a complete profile, you do need to fill it in. So I'll give you a few tips. If somebody Googles you and your LinkedIn shows up, in this case, LinkedIn was the first hit on the Google list when I Googled this person's name, the first 2 lines of their biography show there. It helps me to know that it's the same person I'm looking for. That's kind of an unusual name, but I know that Yazid is an engineer. So when I saw that, I know that I've Googled the right person and I can click on the link. So that's another reason why that little section is kind of useful. Also, within LinkedIn on your profile, only the first 3 lines of this biography show until somebody decides to show more. So a lot of people don't really want to know more. Really, they just want to know like the first bit. So it's a little bit like a newspaper article. In the first paragraph, they give you all the main points. And then as you read, you can hear more of the details. So you want some of the more exciting points or the more attention-grabbing points in the first 3 lines. There are 2 ways to go with this little biography. The first way to go is the older style, more formal, 3rd person. It's like you're talking about, it's like somebody else talking about you. It's like a real biography that someone else has written about you. It's more formal and it has an advantage, which is that it's easier to brag about yourself if it doesn't sound like you're doing it yourself. So I can say Maria Houle won 3 awards, but I wouldn't like to say, yeah, I won 3 awards. So it's nice, 3rd person is nice in that sense. However, in the personal branding world, they prefer that you write this in 1st person. Why? Because it's more emotionally connective. If you're talking, it sounds more like you're talking with people about yourself. So you can give a little bit of your personal story. Here's what I'm about. Here's what happened to me. Here's why I'm doing what I do. And I think for business owners, this is a really great way to go because you can talk about your passion and why you're doing the business and what's important to you about it. When I'm talking with students at Thunderbird, a lot of them are going into more traditional fields like finance or some kinds of consulting. And so the 3rd person makes sense, or outside the US, that makes more sense. But within the US, if you're a business owner, I would recommend you write 1st person in your own voice. So you want to talk a little bit about what you offer, and so your customers know they've come to the right place. So do talk about what you're offering now, maybe how you got there. facts, results, keywords, client names, awards, rankings, any of these things, if you can include them in your story, help people validate, verify, and build trust. So I've written here, use your about section to sell. I don't just mean to sell a product, I mean to sell people on you and what you offer. So, so you're the face of your business. So you want to really talk about that. Why? Why are you doing it? And what I tell the students who are, most of them looking for a job in a company, a little bit different from some of you, but I say, tell your story. You're the hero. Tell it your way. Focus on the bits you want people to know. That's why LinkedIn is great. You're controlling this whole message. So tell people the parts that you think are important for them. And you make it personal. In your about section, you can also invite other people to connect with you, to try your product, to recommend you. And we'll get down to the recommendations in a second. So that's the about section. I've got a couple of different techniques for writing that about section, but it would be like a different presentation. Writing a biography about yourself, it takes a little bit of time and care, but at any rate, I think the most important thing is that it feels authentic to you, and I would let a trusted friend who knows you well read it and see if they think that what you've written reflects the way you're seen. So just to make sure that it feels authentic and that you've got a little verification from a friend on that. I think that's the main thing. So the next section is called skills and endorsements. I'm just going to breeze through this, but it's just to make your profile complete, officially complete. People can endorse you for skills. They don't say anything. They just click if they think you're good at these things. The skills section, I think you can have 50 skills, something like that, but only the top 3 skills are visible. Here you can see. Otherwise, someone has to show more. I can't imagine anybody's really clicking through to see that. But what I want to point out is make them the 3 skills you want to be known for. Here, this person has strategy, marketing management, and marketing strategy. It's too much overlap. It would be better to use those 3 slots for 3 totally different skills. So you can edit those skills and rearrange the list and make sure the relevant ones show. That's all you need to know about the skills section. Now we get to recommendations. And this is what Dinora was mentioning. On LinkedIn, you can give and you can get recommendations. Surprisingly few people on LinkedIn do this. And I think it's a shame because I always read them. If I'm on someone's LinkedIn profile, just like I do for Yelp, I like to see what people said. So if you want to get recommendations from people on LinkedIn, my best advice is to ask for them. And you can also offer to write one for them in exchange. Sometimes I notice that busy people don't like to write recommendations, takes too much thought. So you can even say, hey, I'm interested in showcasing my good customer service. Would you mind writing a recommendation that comments on my customer service? You could let somebody know exactly what you're looking for to help them write that quickly. But almost always you need to ask somebody for that recommendation on LinkedIn. I don't know why, but it's not like a Yelp where people gladly go in there, and it's almost like a hobby where they go in and review the places where they had a meal or the services they use. LinkedIn, it takes a little bit more effort, but I highly recommend it. So that's all I'm going to say about the recommendations section. And then finally, this is the last section that I'll review in order to make the profile 100% complete. Interests section. And this doesn't really do very much. There's a few, you can see influencers, companies, groups, there's some tabs there. You can join groups, and they might be professional groups, and you can interact with those people and network a bit. That's pretty useful. Otherwise, you're just clicking on people you think are good and that you want to follow because they publish a few interesting articles on LinkedIn from time to time. Oh yeah, I even have a slide that says why bother. Well, because you can network with the people in the groups, you can show your brand. So if you are interested in catering, you can maybe follow some of the famous chefs or, you know, whatever, and you can demonstrate engagement. So in my case, I had a global career. So I like to follow things which are global in nature. So I might follow the Council on Foreign Relations just to show that I'm engaged with the things I say I like. That's all it is. Very quick. Go click on a few of those things. Here, I'm going to go back to that page. Just follow a few influencers, a few companies that you admire, and so on. And that will make that section complete. I think, oh, it says choose up to 50. Yeah. And there, I've said all the things are on this slide. You follow your school. Of course, I follow ASU and Thunderbird and products that I like. And people know a little bit more about me if they scroll all the way down to my LinkedIn profile. So those are the sections you need to complete in LinkedIn in order to make it 100% complete. There's also an education section. I didn't get into that, but you mark on the schools that you attended. So if your profile is complete, there's this dashboard when you're editing your profile. It's near the top, and it will give you the all-star. If it's not complete, there's a kind of a horizontal, like almost like a thermometer, and it shows you what percentage complete your profile is. And so you can go back and add more sections, fill in more things until you get the all-star. And then you'll know that your profile is complete. And then in the end, you're going to have a profile which tells a lot about you. It builds trust with people who are looking at it. It makes you easy to Google. You have your phone number on there and your email. There's a little bit of personality. We'll have a nice banner. It looks pretty. You've attached some of the articles about yourself or photos of yourself working. And so it's quite a robust personal branding hub, and it's totally free.
Can I ask a
yeah,
question?
go ahead.
I use LinkedIn here and there, but I'm constantly getting those messages about the premium service, and I don't understand if you're a headhunter, perhaps you'd want to be using that service, but is there really, I mean, you don't really need to, do you?
You are 100% correct. You really don't need it. And I think, you know, even sometimes if you really need to do a lot of searching for someone, maybe, you know, one day you're hiring a bunch of people or you're looking for a job, you could do a month free trial and get all the juice out of it that you need and never pay for it. And it was funny because the certification that I have in social branding, where they talk about LinkedIn, even they said don't ever buy premium unless you like professionally, exactly like you said, a headhunter or whatever. I have never used anything but the free version. And I do this all day. I work with students all the time. Some of them get premium and they get a little bit out of it during a job search, but probably you don't need it at all.
Just wondering. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So I think this is my last slide. A high quality online presence gives you credibility as a business owner, and making your profile professional reflects on your business. And if you have employees, they should do the same. And there you have it.
Thank you so much, Maria. That was very informative. And I think the ladies are going to find that this is another tool to promote their services and also their businesses. And one question that I have is, how do you position yourself as an expert? Once that you set up your profile, and if you are in, let's say that I'm the construction owner, right, that I have my business, how can I show that I'm an expert in what I'm doing?
So the way you would show that using LinkedIn is there's a couple of ways. First of all, if you have any validating media, which we've already gone into, if there are any articles or you want to link to your website where you've got pictures of your work and so on. So we've already covered that. But to look like an expert, there's a couple other things you could do. LinkedIn allows you to post articles. You can write the article yourself. So if you are an expert and want to write a short article about, you know, construction trends in your area or whatever it is, or about a special job you did, you could put a short article on there and you post it on your page. That also goes into the feed of other people who are connected to you, and they can like it and so on. So there's a little bit of a social media angle when you post an article. You can also repost an article that you liked. And so that's another way that's really simple, obviously, to go in and repost articles that are of interest in the construction industry. And that just shows you as being engaged in the industry. I don't know if it shows you exactly as an expert if you're reposting other people's articles, but it shows that you know what you're doing. The other thing you can do, and this is not just so much LinkedIn, but if there are credit certificates or accreditation for your particular business, be it construction or whatever, even if you don't have them, you can say that you are applying for it, or you can, mention that you are a candidate for that, and that at least gets those words on your profile and shows that you understand what's needed in that field and that you are addressing it. So just off the top of my head, those are a few ideas.
And another question is, can you actually sell over this platform? I mean, Facebook allows you to kind of like to reach out to your customer base, but how about LinkedIn? Is this just mostly to show that you are a professional in the services and whatever you do, but can you actually sell?
So I get, so the deal with LinkedIn is that you can only, if I'm not mistaken, access, I hope I'm saying this correctly, but basically you can only access people who are your direct contacts, their contacts, or their contacts. So you're talking about 3 degrees of separation. It's a lot of people. So if I have 500 contacts and they each have 500 contacts, that's 250,000 people. So that's the base of people in LinkedIn that I can reach out to. And there are ways to go out and individually write notes to people. Oh, I noticed you can filter. I noticed you're in this field and I offer this service. Are you interested? But there's no, I believe, now I don't use LinkedIn for this very much, so I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this. There's not really a way to blast out something and sell to, a really wide audience without doing it individually. And if LinkedIn sees you doing that, they'll sort of shut you down for a little while. So it's good for very targeted direct sales, for filtering and sending out notes to people. That's like more networking rather than selling.
I see. Well, thank you so much. I truly appreciate your presentation and spending time with us, Maria. And if anybody in the audience and the Facebook audience wants more information or have extra questions, send it to me directly. And if you need the presentation just to go over everything, we're gonna have it with us. And we wanna thank you again for spending 1 hour of your time with us.
It's my great pleasure. Hope it was helpful. And again, don't hesitate to reach out because everybody's got individual issues. I'm always available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.